Watch closely. The story you just saw isn't just about a courtroom clash, it's a lesson in preparation, accountability, and turning pressure into power. Every word, every pause, every choice of evidence matters when public perception and political stakes collide. Stay informed, analyze critically, and never underestimate the impact of strategy, composure, and truth in shaping history. The courtroom was tense, charged with an energy that seemed almost tangible. Judge Clarence Thomas had made a move that stunned everyone present, an attempt to have Representative Jasmine Crockett jailed. It was a move so bold, so abrupt, that the air seemed to catch in the throats of journalists, staffers, and onlookers alike. Cameras flashed, live streams instantly picked up the story, and social media erupted with speculation and outrage. Audacity of the attempt sent ripples through Washington, setting the stage for one of the most extraordinary moments in recent political history. Crockett's response, however, was immediate and commanding. In the span of minutes, she leveraged her presence, knowledge, and understanding of legal protocol to shift the momentum, where most individuals might have faltered under such sudden pressure. Crockett remained composed, her voice steady, her tone authoritative. She articulated the procedural inconsistencies and highlighted the political implications of Thomas's move, framing it as both legally questionable and politically fraught. The reaction from the audience and observers was instantaneous. Every word Crockett spoke was met with intense focus. Viewers watching online could sense the gravity of the situation. Clips began circulating on social media within moments, highlighting her calm yet powerful dismantling of an aggressive judicial maneuver. Analysts quickly noted that Crockett's ability to respond with precision under pressure was not merely impressive, it was strategic, showing a deep understanding of both law and optics. As the minutes ticked by, Thomas's initial attempt began to unravel. Crockett's arguments were layered, interweaving legal precedent, constitutional principles, and public accountability. She illustrated how the action could be perceived as overreach, and she strategically cited examples where judicial attempts to exert power in similar contexts had backfired, both politically and legally. The clarity of her reasoning made it increasingly difficult for anyone to justify or support the initial move, creating a visible shift in the room's dynamics. Within 20 minutes, the courtroom atmosphere had transformed. What had started as a shocking attempt at coercion turned into a display of Crockett's mastery of public and political strategy. Observers noted that her use of pacing, emphasis, and timing made every rebuttal hit with maximum effect. Each argument built on the previous one, constructing a narrative that was not only legally sound, but emotionally resonant. By the time Thomas realized the consequences of his action, the situation had already shifted irrevocably. Social media amplified the moment. Highlights of Crockett's.com but firm dismantling of the attempted jailing spread rapidly, sparking debates and discussions across platforms. Analysts praised her ability to combine legal expertise with strategic communication, emphasizing how she had turned a potentially perilous situation into a demonstration of authority and skill. The juxtaposition of Thomas's initial aggression with Crockett's measured response became a defining image of the incident, shared widely with commentary on her mastery of high-stakes political and legal confrontation. What made Crockett's handling extraordinary was her ability to maintain credibility while navigating an emotionally charged and unpredictable environment. She never resorted to theatrics or personal attacks. Instead, she relied on clarity, evidence, and moral reasoning. Every point was calculated to advance the narrative that Thomas's attempt was not only procedurally questionable, but also politically risky. Her strategy underscored the principle that in moments of crisis, preparation, knowledge, and composure can shift outcomes dramatically. Even against powerful opposition, the courtroom's observers, from legal aides to journalists, were left grappling with the rapid reversal of dynamics. Thomas's initial advantage had evaporated, replaced by Crockett's control of both the narrative and the room's perception. The sheer speed at which she turned the situation around became a case study in effective political and legal communication. Public commentary and news outlets highlighted her deft maneuvering, noting that very few individuals could have responded so decisively under the intense scrutiny of cameras, live streaming, and political analysts. By the end of the 20 minutes, it was clear that the attempted jailing had not only failed, but also backfired spectacularly. Thomas, who had begun with a show of force, now faced the consequences of misjudgment. Crockett's performance transformed the scenario from a judicial overreach into a moment of public accountability, illustrating how preparation, strategic thinking, and composure under pressure can redefine outcomes in real time. The courtroom atmosphere remained electric as Crockett shifted from defense to offense, transforming what could have been a chaotic confrontation into a disciplined, high-stakes demonstration of strategic mastery. The initial shock of Judge Clarence Thomas's attempt to jail her had faded, replaced by an unmistakable aura of control. Every movement, every phrase, and every calculated pause was now part of a larger strategy to not only defend herself, but to expose the misstep for the entire nation to see. Crockett understood that the optics of this moment were just as critical as the legal substance. Cameras captured her composure, her unwavering gaze, and the subtle inflection in her voice that conveyed authority without aggression. This was not a reactive performance. It was a proactive display of tactical brilliance. She navigated the legal framework with precision, citing relevant statutes, historical precedent, and procedural norms that highlighted the extraordinary nature of Thomas's actions. Each point was meticulously selected to underscore both legality and fairness, while simultaneously framing the attempted jailing as a cautionary tale in overreach and misuse of power. Observers in the courtroom watched closely as Crockett turned Thomas's aggressive maneuver into an opportunity for accountability. She highlighted how the move could be perceived as undermining democratic norms, emphasizing that judicial authority must operate within the confines of law and ethical governance. Her articulation of these principles was clear and concise, leaving no ambiguity for the audience, the media, or political commentators to interpret. Each statement reinforced her credibility, positioning her as not only a skilled legislator, but a master of situational strategy under extreme pressure. Meanwhile, social media exploded with live reactions. Clips of Crockett delivering pointed rebuttals, combined with visual cues of Thomas's growing unease, spread rapidly across platforms. Analysts dissected her technique, noting her use of rhythm, timing, and factual layering as critical factors in controlling the narrative. Viewers marveled at how she maintained poise while dismantling a move designed to intimidate and silence her, turning potential vulnerability into an undeniable display of authority. Crockett also skillfully engaged the broader context. She connected Thomas's attempted action to historical instances where judicial overreach had triggered public backlash, illustrating a pattern of accountability and systemic checks that transcended the immediate situation. By framing the incident within a larger narrative of civic responsibility, she transformed the confrontation from a personal defense into a lesson in governance, demonstrating that no figure, regardless of stature, is beyond scrutiny when missteps occur. The courtroom itself became a theater of shifting power dynamics. Thomas, who had initially held a commanding position through the force of authority alone, now found his influence diminished. Crockett's articulate and calculated approach disrupted the anticipated sequence, leaving Thomas reacting to her narrative rather than directing the events himself. Each interruption he attempted was seamlessly countered, not through confrontation, but through precise redirection of the discussion, emphasizing logic, legality, and public accountability. Strategically, Crockett leveraged pauses and measured emphasis to amplify the impact of her points. She introduced key examples and data points that were impossible to ignore, reinforcing the factual basis of her arguments while simultaneously highlighting the political implications of Thomas's attempt. The result was a multi-layered presentation that addressed immediate concerns while resonating with national observers, media outlets, and political commentators. Public response grew exponentially. Clips of her dismantling Thomas's move were shared thousands of times, accompanied by commentary praising her mastery of the moment. Headlines emphasized the speed, precision, and effectiveness of her rebuttals. Analysts highlighted that Crockett's performance demonstrated a rare combination of legal expertise, political acumen, and public communications skills, a trifecta that turned a potential crisis into a landmark moment of strategic dominance. As the minutes passed, Crockett's narrative solidified. She emphasized that accountability was not merely a theoretical concept, but a practical, enforceable principle in governance. Her arguments connected with a wide audience, from legal experts to everyday citizens, creating an undeniable perception that Thomas's action was not just misguided, but had been successfully countered by a formidable presence of skill and intellect. By the end of this stage, the momentum had fully shifted. Crockett had transformed the confrontation from a defensive reaction into an assertive, strategic offensive. Thomas's attempt to exert authority had inadvertently highlighted her preparedness, composure, and mastery of high-pressure environments. Social media, news commentary, and political analysts all agreed. Crockett had not just survived the moment, she had redefined it, setting a new standard for political resilience and tactical precision. By now, the attempted jailing of Representative Jasmine Crockett had become a story that transcended the courtroom. News outlets, social media platforms, and political commentary shows were ablaze, dissecting every moment of the dramatic confrontation. What had begun as a sudden, shocking move by Judge Clarence Thomas had quickly evolved into a masterclass of political poise, legal strategy, and public perception management, all executed by Crockett in real time. Across the country, the response was immediate and fervent. Clips of Crockett addressing the courtroom, dismantling Thomas's maneuver, and maintaining unwavering composure were shared by millions. Her use of factual clarity and procedural knowledge left viewers astounded. Her timing, precision, and subtle displays of confidence highlighted a level of preparedness few had anticipated. Analysts on major networks commented on the extraordinary poise Crockett demonstrated, emphasizing that her response not only neutralized the judicial action, but also turned it into a public spectacle of accountability. Crockett's approach showcased an understanding of the larger political and social ramifications of the event. She didn't merely counter Thomas's actions. She framed the incident within a broader discourse on accountability, the balance of powers, and the responsibilities of public figures. By highlighting these systemic principles, Crockett transformed a personal confrontation into a larger lesson in governance, effectively engaging the national audience while maintaining legal and ethical clarity. The courtroom itself became a microcosm of shifting power dynamics. Initially, Thomas's authority had dominated the space, creating an immediate imbalance. However, Crockett's intervention recalibrated the environment. Every pointed statement, every logical counterpoint, and every carefully measured pause shifted the perception of control. Thomas, previously in a position of unilateral influence, now appeared reactive, forced to navigate a narrative set by Crockett's strategic acumen. This reversal was not subtle. It was palpable, and observers noted the visual and symbolic impact of this shift on the perception of authority within the judiciary. Public discourse outside the courtroom intensified. Social media exploded with hashtags, clips, and analyses that chronicled Crockett's handling of the situation. Political commentators debated the significance of her strategy, emphasizing how a single, prepared individual could effectively counter a move that, on paper, seemed overwhelming. The rapid circulation of these clips highlighted the contemporary power of digital media to amplify critical moments, transforming them from localized incidents into national conversations almost instantaneously. Crockett also used the moment to underscore broader systemic issues. She discussed procedural safeguards, the importance of judicial restraint, and the potential consequences of overreach, connecting her argument to real-world implications for governance and citizen rights. By grounding her response in both law and principle, Crockett ensured that the narrative was anchored in credibility, making it impossible for critics to dismiss her points as purely political theatrics. Media coverage quickly pivoted to emphasize the contrast between the initial move and Crockett's handling. Headlines celebrated her strategic mastery, highlighting her ability to maintain clarity, precision, and authority under intense pressure. Analysts noted that the public perception of the confrontation was overwhelmingly in her favor, with Thomas's initial maneuver now framed as a cautionary tale of misjudged authority and unintended consequences. The momentum extended into political circles as well. Lawmakers, advisors, and policy analysts discussed the implications of the event, recognizing Crockett's actions as a textbook example of turning a moment of vulnerability into one of undeniable strategic strength. By responding with composure, knowledge, and calculated timing, Crockett had demonstrated a rare skill set that resonated across the spectrum from legal experts to ordinary citizens. Her ability to engage both the immediate audience and the broader public also highlighted the importance of communication in high-stakes political and legal scenarios. Crockett's measured tone, deliberate phrasing, and logical structure created a narrative that was compelling, persuasive, and instantly shareable. Observers noted that such moments have the potential to redefine public expectations of accountability, illustrating how preparation and strategic communication can reshape power dynamics in real time. By the end of these public reverberations, the story had taken on a life of its own. Crockett had not only countered a direct attempt at coercion, but it also set a new precedent in the way political figures and legal authorities are held accountable in public and digital spaces. The incident became a defining example of resilience, strategy, and the critical intersection of law, media, and public perception, cementing Crockett's reputation as both a formidable legislator and an expert in high-stakes political navigation. As the courtroom drama reached its zenith, the tension that had gripped every observer began to crystallize into a clear narrative. Jasmine Crockett had not merely survived an extraordinary challenge. She had redefined it. Judge Clarence Thomas's attempt to jail her had been a lightning strike intended to intimidate, but Crockett's response had transformed it into a beacon of strategic mastery and public accountability. Every calculated word, every measured pause, and every precise citation reinforced her dominance in both legal and political arenas. Crockett's closing statements were nothing short of a masterclass. She reminded the courtroom, and by extension the nation, that accountability transcends individual power, emphasizing the principles that underpin democratic governance. Her articulation was firm but composed, blending law, ethics, and public interest into a narrative that resonated far beyond the walls of the court. With each sentence, she systematically dismantled the premise behind the attempted jailing, framing the action as a cautionary tale for anyone who might consider wielding authority without foresight or restraint. The public reaction intensified as clips of her final moments in court circulated online. Analysts noted how her strategic pauses and deliberate emphasis highlighted the gravity of her arguments while allowing the weight of evidence to speak for itself. Social media platforms exploded with commentary and reactions, many praising her composure under pressure and her skillful navigation of a situation that could have overwhelmed most seasoned politicians. It was evident that Crockett had turned what could have been a personal and professional setback into a defining moment of triumph. Meanwhile, political circles were abuzz. Members of Congress, legal scholars, and commentators recognized the broader implications of Crockett's response. By adhering to principles of law, ethical clarity, and measured public communication, she had effectively neutralized an extraordinary challenge while showcasing the capacity of an individual to influence narrative and perception. Her actions served as a template for resilience, demonstrating how preparation, composure, and strategic thinking could convert potential vulnerability into undeniable strength. Crockett's handling of the situation also sparked important conversations about the balance of power and judicial authority. Experts highlighted how this moment underscored the necessity for checks and balances, particularly when extraordinary actions intersect with public visibility. By framing her defense in terms of procedural correctness, fairness, and ethical governance, Crockett had not only protected herself but had illuminated broader systemic issues, fostering public awareness and engagement with fundamental principles of accountability. Beyond the courtroom, the ripple effects were immediate and tangible. Her performance became a touchstone for discussions on leadership, communication, and political strategy. Analysts dissected her every move, from her carefully chosen examples to her precise vocal inflections, noting that these elements combined to create a narrative of mastery and control. The incident became a case study in public resilience, offering lessons on how skillful navigation of crisis can redefine perception and amplify influence. As the dust settled, the legacy of this confrontation began to crystallize. Crockett's unwavering poise, strategic clarity, and factual precision had shifted the focus from the attempted jailing to her unparalleled ability to manage pressure, communicate effectively, and assert accountability. Thomas's intervention, once intended as an act of dominance, had inadvertently amplified Crockett's reputation, proving that authority misapplied can backfire when met with preparation, intellect, and composure. The courtroom drama concluded, but the conversation it ignited continued to resonate across social media, news, commentary, and public discourse. Crockett's strategic execution had demonstrated a rare synthesis of legal acumen, political awareness, and narrative control. Her ability to maintain credibility, command attention, and influence public perception under extreme pressure had become a benchmark, illustrating how a single individual can shape outcomes and set new standards for accountability. In the political and legal landscape, ultimately, Jasmine Crockett emerged not only unscathed, but elevated. The incident reinforced the importance of preparation, ethical clarity, and strategic communication, showing that true power lies not in intimidation, but in the ability to respond thoughtfully, assert authority through knowledge, and turn potential vulnerability into public triumph.